At the fringes of perception, beyond the boundaries of your mind, just past the glow of the firelight, out of the corner of your eyes, you will find an edge case. Edge Case Podcast, coming September 10th. Learn more at edgecasepod.com.
Step into the sand.
This is Macabre Grimoire with Ari Show, Travis Nye, and Robert Melee.
Hey everybody, welcome to Macabre Grimoire, Chapter 22, The Hinterkaifeck Murders. I'm your host.
Nice job. That was a delicate question.
Yeah. What is a delicate question? Anyways, I'm your host, Ari Show, here with my co-hosts, Robert Melee and Travis Nye.
Hey.
Yep.
And I'm back.
Yes.
We're all kind of back.
We're all very happy to have you back.
Yes.
We're happy that to have all three of you. Has that happened in 2019 yet?
I don't
All three of
think
us?
so.
I don't think so, no. This is it. We're
Jeez.
all back. This is official. It only took us until March. We started recording in March last year, didn't we?
I don't know. I should follow up on that. But yeah, that sounds right.
Maybe it was more like April. We planned in March and then we recorded in
That's
April.
right. Yeah, there was definitely a 4 in the date. So,
yeah. So it's almost a year.
Almost a year.
Almost a year.
So we need to do something for the Macabre-versary.
Oh my god, we should do a cake. That'd be so freaking cute.
We'll incorporate an air horn into the show. That's
Yeah.
what we'll celebrate.
So, there was something else. No, never mind. I'll ask it after the show. It's dumb. So.
Okay. So anyway, I'm glad we're all in a happy, jolly mood. So let's talk about one of the most heinous, mass murders in the history of, Europe has had a lot of mass murders. Like, a domestic criminal kind of mass murders in the history of Europe. And one of the greatest unsolved crimes in Germany. See, I'm just one of the greatest crimes in German history. It's a little overshadowed by the events that would happen a little later. So, how do I do? Yeah, okay.
Okay, well, how about this? It is, out of all the domestic cold cases, it's probably one of the worst.
Yes. There we go.
Because it's unsolved. It's a cold case. It's horrendous that this even happened.
And it's really weird. It's just bizarre.
Right. And we're going to talk about it. It's very similar, though, to what happened in Iowa, which is kind of interesting. So, because that's where I, when I was, kind of reading through just briefly the show notes, I was like, God, is this the Iowa one? But then I was like, no, this is in Germany.
What's funny is that there was, I didn't include it in our list of suspects, but there was even one wilder theory that there was a American serial killer who was operating at the same time, and he kind of disappeared off the map right about the time this happened. And so it's was he a German immigrant who went back to Germany and then ended up doing this?
Right.
Which, I feel like that's a stretch, but it's But we'll get into the theories and stuff. Let's bring our listeners up to speed on what the heck is Hinterkaifeck.
Oh, real quick, the Villisca axe murders happened in 1912, and this happened in 1922. Just thought I would just.
I wonder if that theory I saw is literally linking that murder to this one because of the similarity.
It's very, very similar. It's just real quick. 8 victims, including 4 children, had severe head wounds from an axe.
Oh God. Okay. Yeah.
All right. So
it's so like this one.
That's why I'm saying. That's why I thought it was this one. So, anyways, go for it.
You got it. So in 1922, 6 people were killed at a remote German farmstead. They were bludgeoned in their bedclothes, but were their deaths the result of a manic serial killing, out of control family feud, or something else? Strange things began to occur around Hinterkaifeck sometime before the attack. 6 months before the attack, the family maid had quit, claiming that she heard sounds and that she believed that the house was haunted. Stick a pin in that, it's important later.
Mm-hmm.
Andreas Gruber found a strange newspaper from Munich on the property in March of 1922, which, okay, that's also weird. He could not remember buying it, and thus Gruber initially believed that the postman had lost this newspaper. This was not the case, however, as no one in the vicinity subscribed to the newspaper. Just days before the murders, Gruber told neighbors he discovered tracks in the fresh snow that led from the forest to his home. While these alone were not unsettling, which,
Would
yeah,
be.
they are,
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
it was the fact that the tracks did not lead away from the house again that unnerved him. Okay, yeah, that's buried the lead on that one. Yeah, okay, so that is even more unnerving, because I suppose if you see tracks of someone that walked up and then walked away, it's like, it's still creepy. Like when I found that on my patio one morning,
Oh, yeah.
I just like footprints like someone walked up onto my patio and then walked out in the snow, and I'm just like,
The fuck are you?
yeah.
Yeah. Like, I get super paranoid about that, too, because I'll notice, because we live on, like, a secluded street, so we're kind of like a cul-de-sac, and so I pay attention to if there are foot tracks in our snow that aren't the mailman's and aren't Dominic's.
Sure.
Yeah. Like, yeah. That's like one of my worst fears.
So let's see. The tracks didn't lead away from the house, and then at the same time, one of the family members' house keys went missing. During the night, they heard footsteps in the attic, but Gruber found no one when he searched the building. So we've got people who think it's haunted, strange tracks leading up to the house,
Right.
stuff going missing and stuff showing up.
Right.
It's
plot
going to get
thickens.
weirder, yes. So, he declined to borrow a gun from one of his neighbors to protect himself and his family. Although he told several people about the alleged observations, he refused to accept help, and the details were unreported to the police. Which that I can, back then you didn't bring the police in unless
Right.
something had actually happened. But yeah, and the gun thing was a new thing, because I've read about this before, but I didn't know that, like, someone had even offered him a gun. Like,
Right.
seriously, protect yourself.
Yeah, right.
So, on the afternoon of March 31st, 1922, a Friday, the new maid, Maria, arrived at the farm. The previous housekeeper had quit approximately 6 months earlier, like we said, claiming that the home was haunted. Mm-hmm. Her sister had escorted her there and left her at the farm after a short stay, and she was most likely the last person to see the inhabitants alive. Ugh. A few hours later, the 6 inhabitants of Hinterkaifeck would be dead. It's impossible to reconstruct the exact events of the evening without some speculation, but some of the details are clear after the investigation. It appears that late in the evening, Victoria, her 7-year-old daughter Kazilla, and her parents, the family,
Yeah.
were lured to the barn through the stable, where they were murdered one at a time, which creeps me out so much, because it's just like one person goes looking, then another person goes looking.
Yeah.
And then, and it gets bad here, where it's just like, because it's like,
So,
it appears that, details are not here, but like the youngest, it seems like they theorize hung out for like hours before they went out.
to go check.
Yeah. Which is just awful.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So the perpetrator, there you go.
The perpetrator or perpetrators used a mattock belonging to the family farm and killed the family with blows to the head. For those of you who don't know, and we're going to put a picture in the show notes, it looks like kind of like a pickaxe, basically. So it's not like a full-on axe,
right.
But it's not it's like a small pickaxe, basically.
Right.
Let's see. The perpetrator moved from the barn through the stable into the living quarters where, with the same murder weapon, he killed the maid Maria in her bed chamber and presumably killed the young Joseph last, as the 2-year-old boy slept in the basement
Bassinet.
in a bassinet in his mother's room.
That totally changes the...
Yeah. 4 days passed between the murder and the discoveries of the bodies.
God damn it.
On April 1st, coffee sellers Hans and Edward arrived at Hinterkaifeck to place an order When no one did their knocks at the door and at the window, they walked around the yard but found no one. They only noticed that the gate to the machine house was open before they decided to leave. Let's see. Kazilla Gabriel was absent without excuse for the next few days from school, and her family failed to show up for Sunday worship. So on Monday, April 3rd, the postman, Joseph Mayer, was delivering the mail to Hinterkaifeck when he noticed that Saturday's mail was still where he had left it, and that no one had been in the yard. Assembler Albert went to Hinterkaifeck on April 4th to repair the engine of the food chopper. He stated that he had not seen any of the family or heard nothing but the sounds of the animals, noting a barking dog. After waiting for an hour, he decided to start his repair, which he completed in roughly 4.5 hours. After the repair, he noticed that the barn door was open, but he could not say for certain whether it had been open when he got there. Creepy. He peeked into the barn and did not go inside. In Gorburn, he met the daughters of the village guide, Lorenz, and told them that the repairs at the Hinterkaifeck were done. Hoffner also told George Gregor, the mayor of Wangen. This is like the Rob Learns to Read podcast, seriously. About the ghostly emptiness of Hinterkaifeck. Schlittenbauer sent his two sons, Johann and Joseph, to Hinterkaifeck to see if they could make contact with the family. When they reported that they did not see anyone, Schlittenbauer headed to the farm the same day with Michael Pohl and Jacob Siegel, at which time they discovered the mostly concealed bodies in the barn and the home. Inspector Gregor and his colleagues from the Munich Police Department investigated the killings. More than 100 suspects have been questioned throughout the years, with most of the recent questioning, the most recent questioning taking place in 1986.
That's crazy. That's what 1922 to 1986. That's what 40 some years later. No, more than that.
Yeah,
that's 60 some years later.
It's a long damn time. Is what it is. So none of the questioning ever yielded any conclusive results. The day after the discovery of the bodies, court physician Johann Baptist Ulmer performed autopsies in the barn. It was established that the mattock was the most likely murder weapon, though the weapon itself was not at the scene. Evidence showed that the younger Kazilla had been alive for several hours after the assault. She had torn out her hair in tufts while lying in the straw next to the bodies of her grandparents and her mother. Jesus. The skulls of the corpses were sent to Munich, where clairvoyants examined them? Okay, to no avail. The heads were later lost, presumably destroyed during the Allied bombings of World War II. The police suspected a motive of robbery, and when they interrogated traveling craftsmen and vagrants and several inhabitants from the surrounding villages, when a large amount of money was found in the house, they abandoned that theory. It was clear that the perpetrator remained at the farmhouse for several days. This is something from the story that I've heard that has always creeped me out. Someone had fed the cattle and eaten their supply of bread from the kitchen and had recently cut meat from the pantry. Neighbors also reported that there had been smoke coming from the chimney all weekend. The perpetrator would have easily found the money if robbery had been the intention, but as it was, the money remained untouched. With no clear motive to be gleaned from the crime scene, police began to formulate a list of suspects. That's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, it's just like, it's so crazy. Like, so just by reading through all of that, do you think it's someone that they knew, someone they didn't know? I mean, like, I feel like it's somebody that they had to have known.
That's the way I feel, too, about it, is that it had to be someone that knew them or they knew.
Yeah, but if that was the case, I feel like a person wouldn't be hiding in the house. They would have just made themselves present and...
the whole, like the groundwork stalking. So there's one theory with one of the suspects that kind of works with both that angle, both the like hiding in the attic and just kind of lurking,
right?
While at the same time they are someone who would know the family intimately,
right?
Because there's a whole bunch of other details in here that I think we forgot to mention at some point. For one thing, there's a strong theory that the youngest girl, or the one that's like the teenage or like
sure.
young adult woman, was having an incestuous affair with her father.
Yeah.
And that was a rumor amongst the villages and stuff like that. And so there's even like theories that it was like an honor killing kind of thing where like, they were just, their community was upset with them, and so someone took care of it and they let it happen.
It's like, well, if they're incestuous, then we might as well just kill this family and be done with these gross
because they're making our village look bad. Like I said, almost a borderline like honor killing.
Yeah.
So let's see. Here's a list of... I've narrowed it down to a few of the suspects, but man, there are a lot of suspects. Because obviously, when the case is this old and it's Jack the Ripper style, where it's kind of like fair game because the forensics are all over the place and stuff like that, there was a lot of speculation, therefore a lot of hypothetical suspects. Mm-hmm. But here are some of my picks for some of the stronger cases, not that I'm endorsing any of them specifically. So, Victoria's husband, Gabriel...
the husband of Victoria Gabriel, Carl Gabriel.
Thank you.
There you go.
Had reportedly been killed in December of 1914 during the First World War. However, his body has never been recovered. After the murders, people began to speculate that if he had indeed died or whether or not he had indeed died in the war. Victoria Gabriel had given birth to Joseph illegitimately in her husband's absence. The 2-year-old Joseph was rumored to be the son of Victoria and her father, Andreas. Okay, here's where we get into that. Mm-hmm. Who had been in an incestuous relationship that was documented in court and known in the village. That's right. They had been ticketed and fined for it before.
Jesus.
Yeah. Some theorized that Carl killed the family to seek revenge. Although soldiers from his regiment testified to his death and the police were inclined to believe them, the theory gained new nourishment over the years after people repeatedly reported that they had met Gabriel or could confirm that he had exchanged his identity with that of one of his fallen comrades.
Oh, interesting.
So that's one that I think is like...
So he didn't really die.
Even though it's the most sci-fi... evil twin, kind of like crazy hook plot device kind of thing.
Right.
The behavior with the like hanging out and the stalking and the kind of stuff, that all makes a lot more sense to me with this theory.
Right.
And I mean, records in the First World War were not, they were pretty good, but they weren't like airtight by any stretch of the imagination. So here's another theory. Another theory says that the killer was Lorenz Schlittenbauer.
Good job.
Thank you. Schlittenbauer had, in 1918, shortly after the death of his first wife, carried on a relationship with Victoria Gabriel. Wait, so she had a husband and an incestuous relationship with her father, plus she definitely had a relationship with this guy.
I shouldn't laugh, but
wow, it is possible that he is the father of Joseph. God, it's like Maury in here.
Like Joseph is a key point in this plot.
Yeah.
More and more, I'm feeling like that. As his initials appeared on the boy's birth certificate, perhaps he had killed the family because Victoria had come after him for alimony. He was suspected by the locals, and as the perpetrator because of several telling acts he committed during the discovery of the bodies. Pardon me. When he had come to investigate, he told his friends that he had to break the gate because all of the doors were locked. After finding the 4 bodies in the barn, his 2 companions left the stable shocked, while Schlittenbauer went alone into the house, which he seemed to know well. Yeah, the familiarity. Mm-hmm. As he went, he said he was looking for his son. When he entered the house, the other men clearly heard him unlock the front door with a key.
Damn.
It seems that this might be the key that had gone missing in the days before the murders, although it is possible that Schlittenbauer might have had a key for any other number of reasons. I mean, there's no limit on how many keys they had, apparently.
True.
But it sounds like they kind of had a business and a lot of people, like, coming and going.
Oh, sure.
Because, I mean, just that list of people that came during the 4 days or, like, the preceding days and just were, like, passing through, like, yeah.
Right.
You think an isolated rural farm, but it wasn't that isolated from what you can tell, because, like, people could see smoke and stuff like that. I mean, it's Germany, so it's, like, village life.
Right.
Even years after suspicion fell to Schlittenbauer because of his strange comments, according to reports in files for the case, local teacher Hans Jablogger surprised Schlittenbauer on the remains of on the remains of the demolished Hinterkaifeck in 1925. And yeah, that's spoilers for up ahead. The house is going to get demolished, and the whole place is just going to get flattened,
What?
and they're going to put up a little memorial like a year after this happens.
Oh.
At which time Schlittenbauer, frightful and confused, mentioned an attempt by a perpetrator to bury the remains of the family in the barn. Schlittenbauer reportedly commented that it wasn't possible due to the frozen ground, something it seemed that only the perpetrator would know. Which, yeah, that comment has stuck with me, that it's like, well, no, he couldn't do it because the ground was frozen. It's like,
What?
okay,
Why are you saying that?
You thought about that a little too much.
Yeah.
Okay. Although being a neighbor and familiar with the local land, he would also be aware of whether or not the ground was frozen from the weather and, making an educated guess, which is absolutely true.
Well, I mean, it was March.
And anybody...
into April.
Yeah, but anybody with a farm background is going to know, like, the weather for the area and be like, yeah, Dad, like, right now off the top of his head, he'll tell you if the ground is frozen or not. He's actively, like, tracking it for, when planting's coming.
Right. I mean, when my uncle passed away unexpectedly last year, they found, so it was April, I think, of last year. And so they found the deceased, his dog was in the garage that was deceased, but they knew, like, it had probably happened sometime during the winter, and he was waiting for the ground to, like, thaw out before he was going to be able to bury the dog in the backyard. And for the record, like, that's just where what they've always done with their dogs. I don't know what the rules or the laws are in regards to that, but this is the kind of guy who just doesn't really give a shit about that. So
Fair enough.
But yeah, that was kind of like we found him, and then we found the dog, and we kind of figured, like, oh, that's probably what he was waiting for.
Yeah.
So
Schlittenbauer, before his death in 1941, conducted and won several civil claims for slander against the persons who described him as the murderer of Hinterkaifeck.
Oh, damn.
So, wow. Let's see. So, these two, by far, are my prime pick for suspects.
Yeah.
Here's a few other ones that are out there, but these two, I think it's one of these two. Just personally throwing that out there.
Oh, sure.
The Brothers Gump, on April 9th, 1922... I can't see that name and not think of Bubba Gump Shrimp. Lead detective and investigator, General George Reinengruber, wanted to question Adolf Gump in connection with the murders, as it had been rumored that he was in a Oh, here we go. Turn the page. In a relationship with Victoria. Yes, of course he was. However, no evidence was ever found to prove this claim. With 3 others, Adolf Gump had participated in the murder of 9 peasants in Silesia, and, Reinengruber could not rule out Adolf Gump's potential involvement in the murders at Hinterkaifeck, and he instructed the corresponding
gendarmerie stations?
Sure, whatever those are.
Yeah.
To ask for an alibi for the last few days in March of 1922. Must be like local German for police stations?
Probably.
Okay. I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that too.
In 1951, prosecutor Andreas Popp investigated Adolf's brother Anton Gump in relation to the murders at Hinterkaifeck. The sister of the Gumps, Crescence Mayer, we're going to go with her last name, Mayer.
There you go.
Claimed on her deathbed that the brothers Adolf and Anton Aaron had committed the murders. As a result, Anton Gump was remanded into police custody even after Adolf had already died in 1944. After a short time, however, Anton was dismissed again, and in 1954 the case against him was finally discontinued because it could not be proven to have participated in the crime.
Dang.
So, yeah, there's a few more there, but and with the Gump brothers here,
right?
I didn't list them all because there was like 10 pages of them, but there's so many, like, there's a couple of different groups of brothers like this that were in crime at that time. You know, it's Germany in the interwar period with all the unemployed veterans and stuff like that, and the economy is total crap.
Right.
And crime is like ridiculously high.
Sure.
It's just a brutal time heading into an even brutaler time.
Yeah.
So that partially colors, what happened.
So it's almost like they're just grabbing any crime duo and saying, like, hey, it's possible that you were involved. you know.
But here's the results of the investigation, and then there's kind of an update in 2007. Despite repeated arrests, no murderer was ever found, and the files were closed in 1955. Nevertheless, the last interrogations took place in 1986, and I'm not even going to try.
Jesus
I
Christ!
pronounce that name. Jesus Christ, indeed.
It's like
Mueller.
criminal Hauptkommissar. I don't know. Conrad Mueller.
Yeah, Conrad Mueller
That's what my friends call me.
Conrad Mueller.
is still determined to this day. In 2007, residents of the Polish... Okay, so that's what that word was earlier. It's German for police academy.
Okay.
So students at the police academy examined the case using modern criminal investigation techniques. They concluded that it was impossible to definitively solve the crime after so much time had passed, which, yeah, no kidding.
God damn it, that was such a buzzkill.
Yeah. The primitive investigation techniques available at the time of the murders yielded little evidence, and in the decades since the murders, evidence has been lost and the suspects have since died. Despite these setbacks, however, and this is what I found really interesting,
Sure.
the students did establish, but they did not release publicly the name of which suspect they think did it, because out of respect for still living relatives.
Oh my
God.
So
that's the ultimate cliffhanger there, is that a whole bunch of scientists with forensics and expertise really pulled this thing apart.
Yeah.
And they think they've got a pretty good idea of who did it.
Right.
But they won't say it because they don't want it, because they can't prove it definitively. It's very German. They can't prove it definitively, so they don't want to upset the families.
I mean, I don't know. I get it. I do, but at the same time, it's like so much time has passed. But I guess, the relatives, the living relatives of the person that they want to accuse, probably knew that relatives, because we're not as far removed from that generation, because if you were born in 1922, you're going to be in your 90s today.
Right.
So, I mean, so who's ever still alive definitely knew those people involved with that crime. So it's probably, I mean, I can understand that, but I'm still come on, give us the dirt.
Yeah.
Hopefully that police academy will one day release what their findings are when they feel like enough time has passed for any family to not feel offended.
That would be cool. But yeah, that's in a nutshell, the Hinterkaifeck murders. One of the most notorious murders, and one thing about this case is that it shows up, if you search if you happen to Google greatest unsolved mysteries in history, this is almost always in the top 5.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's a very popular mystery for people to speculate on and stuff like that. I mean, and the theories get really out there. I didn't include them because I felt like it was a little bit of a reach, but there was one video I watched that, a good video that backs
sure.
with sources and stuff like that, where their kind of thesis was that it might have even been these two guys that worked for the Nazis. This might have been an early Nazi party kind of thing where they killed these two because one of the husband or whatever had spoken out against them or something
Sure.
like that, and then they were trying to silence dissent in the community or something like that, and
It just kind of got weird.
Yeah.
And probably didn't at all accomplish what they were trying to accomplish, if that's what they were trying to do.
Right.
Because I think
Well, and apparently the brown, because this is pre them in full power and stuff like
Right.
that.
Oh, yeah.
But the thugs that intimidated people and did all sorts of kind of stuff for the party, kind of laying the groundwork for the future to come. They did this on a regular basis, and that's part of why they were suspects, is because the authorities in the area were pretty sure that they'd killed a few other families or couples or stuff like that. So this might have just been they went to kill the one guy and was oh, there's a house full of people out here, and then
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
But then why stay in their attic for days?
Exactly.
Why kill them and then still hang out at the place for days and take care of their farm? Because any psycho is gonna, I mean, if it's a true murder or whatever, usually they break in, do the deed, and get the fuck out because
Yep.
they don't want to be caught. But usually that's premeditated because they're trying to watch the patterns of the family to kind of figure out where they are. But I don't know. It takes a definite different level of crazy, and just I don't know, just meticulousness of like wanting to like live with the family. And then
They had to be like super ninja. Like, honestly.
but
like,
not really, because they could hear them.
Right, but still not be found. That's...
True. But the thing is like, okay, if you hear footsteps, why the fuck aren't you going to investigate that? Because I can guarantee you, when I hear my cats make a sound, I always investigate that shit. Just because, you know, I want to see if they broke it. You know, like I want to know what's going on.
Right.
Yeah, like we were talking about before we went on air about like staying in a country house by yourself, like you can hear all the sounds and stuff like that. It's like,
yeah.
But I can imagine getting jaded to that too. Like when I lived out on the farm, you have a lot more like, oh, it's just pipes or
True.
whatever.
Or you
It's
try
like,
to tell yourself that.
You hear it, but you're just kind of like, it's just that thing that always makes that noise.
Sure.
Did it ever say what business they had out of that farm?
Well, it's not, it's a farm. It sounds like they were grinding coffee.
And that,
which
yeah, that's
you wouldn't
what I was
grow
wondering.
coffee out there, but
Yeah.
they had like a food processing machine or something like that on the farm.
Yeah, because I did mention about like a food machine.
Because
or,
one of the guys
yeah.
that found stuff was a machinist that came out to fix the food processor.
Yes.
Yeah, because, well, I mean, that was one of the things that I read. It said on April 1st, Hans and Edward, whatever, arrived to place an order, and they were coffee salesmen.
I like that they not only did they knock on the doors, but they look through the windows and like hung out. So it means to me kind of says like they know that this family's going to be there. Like, where are they?
Yeah, it's like weird they're not there.
Yeah.
Which back then, other than like going in for Sunday services and stuff like that, a whole family, including small children and women, like all at once, like extended family. Even nowadays, if you get an extended family living together in a big house, it's like my parents. It's just like there's always someone around.
Right.
It's crazy that it's quiet. You know?
Yeah. Totally know that.
Yeah. So yeah, my money is on Lorenz after doing the research for this beforehand and putting stuff together in the outline and then reading through it here and really thinking about it. I think that's because that's the least, because it's like Carl seems like the top suspect except for he's probably not still alive. He probably died in World War One.
That's kind of what I'm thinking too. But I mean, I can understand like being confused about identity back in that day.
Yep.
I mean, just because it's kind of easier, or it was kind of easier.
The stalkery attic thing seems more like him, but it's believable for Lorenz.
Oh yeah, like
and then the comment about the frozen ground and trying to bury the bodies and stuff like that.
Right.
And,
but I mean, like, it's also easy to say like people just know when the ground is frozen.
exactly.
Like it's just kind of like
cold.
anybody.
Because if you had told me that he'd buried them in the dead of winter, I'd have been like, so the ground wasn't frozen? Okay.
Yeah.
Which I wonder. This is the farm boy in me. It's just like, well, maybe he thought in the barn where they had animals covered in hay, there probably would be some ground that isn't like frozen there, and maybe like you said, it's March or April or whatever, or April, I guess. Yep. So probably thought maybe it would be thawed by then, and it wasn't.
Sure. And maybe that's when he decided like this would be a good time to do it, and then oh shit, my ground's still frozen.
And that was one of the things that went along with that Nazi theory with the guys they were talking about. I should have included that case in there too.
Oh, sure.
But was that's why they brought them all out to the barn, because they were going to bury them, and then they were going to just like use it as like a safe house or a gathering place for their people and stuff like that, and would have just like taken it over and then just said, oh they left, and blah blah blah.
Sure.
Which the Nazis did that. They tended to like be Nazis and take people's stuff and just be like, well, we've always lived here.
I shouldn't laugh about that, but
Yeah.
But it says no one was here in the 1940s. It's like, we were all on vacation
yeah.
in Poland.
Yes.
Ask Czechoslovakia.
Yeah.
We don't talk about
I still think it was multiple people, though.
You
I
think
think
so?
it was multiple.
I do. I
Okay.
think it'd be difficult to lure them in one by one, supposedly, and kill
I think
them.
they have the, this is pre-horror movies, so they don't have that survival instinct of, I'll be right back.
Yeah, right. Well, that, and like you'd think if somebody, like if one of them was murdered, there would have been a noise. Maybe they caught him by surprise. Sure.
But if the barn is like far away from the house,
but still, to kill one person, remove the body, and clean up anything before the next person.
Right? I kind of get what you're saying, but here's kind of my theory. So let's say the husband goes into the barn to do his nightly chores, because that's the thing.
Yep.
He goes out to the barn to do the nightly chores. He's gone for, let's say, an hour or so. But the wife knows, like, it does not take you that long to do that. Like, what the fuck are you doing? So then she goes outside to be like, you know, like, where the hell are you? But then...
Lazy asshole, there's chores in the house to do.
Right. And then she gets whacked. But the thing is by the time that she gets to the barn and she discovers her husband's body, she probably doesn't have the whereabouts with her to even run or do something, you know? Like, if they're
well,
going
it seems like, because, like, the one guy said it's dark in that barn, so it's like they would have been, like, a ways into it, and then it would just come up behind them. And,
exactly. And if you've already been in the dark for a while, your eyes have adjusted, and so you have the advantage. And then after so long, you know, then what was it? The child finally went into the barn looking for the parents.
Yep.
And then the child was, you know, killed after that. So
and Victoria went out to the barn at some point.
Yes.
Yep.
So it's just basically you know, but I understand what you're saying, like,
what would it have been like to be the maid? The brand new maid, it's your first night there. The maid before you quit because she said this place was haunted and evil.
Yeah.
But you got the job. And it's just you and the infant in the house.
If that was the
case... And everyone else is gone.
If the original maid says it was haunted and the new one was hired 6 months later, that's a long time to case the place.
That is a really long time. I don't know, but, like, if I'm... Okay, so I just started this new job. Previous maid says it's haunted. I'm like, she's so stupid. It's not haunted. And then...
You don't really have time to think about it after that.
You really don't. You might just be excited because you got a job, honestly. I mean, I think a lot of us are.
This is true.
When you get hired to a new place. And so, like, you know, the family's out, you know, and then you're thinking, like, well, they're taking a while, but my job is to take care of this child. So I'm not going to worry what the family's doing because it's, you know, the family's new to me. Why am I going to, you know, worry about the family? Because I don't know them just well. I'm just going to take care of the kid because that's what I'm hired for. And then she probably heard the footsteps coming into the house because if she was in her bedchamber, then the attacker must have surprised her and got her and then got the kid. Maybe I did it.
You know too much.
I know way too much. That's just my thought. I don't know.
So yeah, Hinterkaifeck. Like I said, one of the great, especially like one of those. This is one of those murder mysteries that's obscure enough that like only people in like criminal justice circles like knew about it until the internet really exploded its fame because it was, you know, people are attracted to novelty and it's just like there's. You know, this is kind of a tangent, but it's like there's a whole like ecosystem of people on the internet looking for novelty, for anything, just to experience something new, to like get it in their veins.
Oh, sure.
You know, it's just like, and I noticed this pattern with like, you know, like top listicles and top 5 lists and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And this is definitely, you know, a product of its time, resurrected by the cultural singularity of the internet.
Right. Yeah. I'd heard about this one, and then also the Villisca house too. So.
Yeah, now I want to know more about the Villisca house. I feel like it'll be a while again before we do a true crime like full-on murder like
absolutely,
that.
But it's definitely very similar to this. That's why I initially thought that that's what this was. So
I'm curious what techniques the newer scientists or whatever forensic people used and what evidence they had to look at. Because with most of it saying it was destroyed or lost.
Well, probably old photos taken of this crime scenes. Probably, you know, maps drawn of the place to get an idea. You know, reading through eyewitness accounts.
I think they still had the autopsy notes that they took from examining the skulls. So they would have had like direction about the angle or information about the direction of the angles.
Yeah,
and
like
stuff
if they're right-handed, left-handed.
Yep, But yeah, as far as actual physical evidence between the place being leveled, like I said, for a little memorial that was put up, and then the skulls being destroyed when
an axe went
bombed.
through them. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that too. No, and it's interesting. Like I said, there's a whole interwar period factor to it as well. And that's, you know, part of it's like, this is Weimar Republic era Germany, so it's like they didn't have a lot of resources at the time, so they said that was actually kind of a, like, even for the 20s, that was pretty primitive to, instead of just taking the bodies to do autopsies, to just take the heads to do autopsies.
Oh, yeah, I was wondering about that. Yeah.
Yeah, they said that even for that time, that was like, it was still something done in rural areas, like on the super cheap or whatever, to like do it, but still, it's like, It's one of the things they point to, even like in the 50s when they revisit it, are just like, well, that was totally screwed up that they did it that way.
Yeah, yeah.
50s investigators are just like, that's so primitive.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we're sitting here with our CRISPR genome cracking and just like, primitive, you say.
Oh, so
We're so
funny.
smart here in the future. And then future Rob, who's like in a cyborg body who can like see through.
Yeah, yes, and then I don't know. It's that. I don't know. It's like that fine line of like, I'm asking a question like, when is this holiday? But instead of just researching it.
Oh, see, like that, you literally type
like
that
literally
word
like
into
lazy,
Google, and
like
it's going to bring it up
very
in a giant
lazy.
box.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of like people working on a computer asking what time it is.
Yeah.
Oof, that's the worst. But anyway,
So
thank you so much for listening, everyone, this week. We hope you enjoyed the program, and we will be back with more mysterious and macabre information next time.
Bye.
Well, they like, they Google stuff, but
Right.
people have become cynical enough over time
Sure.
that it's great to find something on Google. It's even better to find something on Google that's like well reviewed.
Right.
But it's really, in the era of online anonymity, it's really, really good to find something recommended by someone you know.
True. Yeah. Yes, and then I don't know. It's that. I don't know. It's like that fine line of like, I'm asking a question like, when is this holiday? But instead of just researching it.
Oh, see, like that, you literally type
Like
that
literally
word
like
into Google,
lazy,
and
like
it's going to bring it up
very
in a giant
lazy.
box.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of like people working on a computer asking what time it is.
Yeah.
Oof, that's the worst. But anyway,
So
thank you so much for listening, everyone, this week. We hope you enjoyed the program, and we will be back with more mysterious and macabre information next time.
Bye.
Macabre Grimoire is a production of theSueEmpire.com. Learn more at macabregrimoire.com.